All right, welcome back. We're doing 4.3 in App Development with Swift by Apple. This is App Development with Swift by Apple and lesson 4.3. And you should have gone through, we're just doing the lab portion from this video, so make sure you go through these few pages where they take you through an assignment because it will make the lab so much easier for you to do. The lab doesn't give you much in the way of direction, so that's why I'm making this video to kind of supplement it. It says in your student resources folder, open the starter project called FavoriteAthlete. So you should have already downloaded a zip file with for this book, and inside of that zip file there should be a file called FavoriteAthlete. Let me go ahead and find that and launch it. Teaching, and your file will be in a different place. I'm going to go into my student resources. Unit 4 and 3. Here it is, FavoriteAthlete. Now I'm going to copy and paste this to my desktop. You don't necessarily have to do that. I'm doing that because I have to teach this class a few times and I don't want to edit my original files. So here we go. We're going to open this Xcode project file. And all right, let's see what it wants us to do. Well, let's click around and see what they've got for us. They've got an app delegate. All apps have app delegates. No, we usually don't mess with that. Nothing new in there. Oh, there's a storyboard with nice, like a table view cell and a table view and some extra view controllers. So there's a couple of view controllers there that are going to be needed. Oh, they've already got a view controller here, athlete table view controller, so the table view is there for us. Oh, there's some kind of an error. Let's see what that is. Property keys. We'll probably be making some stuff to fix that problem, I think. And then these are extra files that are associated. You don't need to worry about the images associated with it. The launch screen, that happens first when you launch an app, that little logo that you might put in there. Okay, so in the instructions, it's being particular about model, view, and controller. So what I'm going to do, just because I like to do this, is I'm going to make a new group, call it model. And I'm going to make another group and call it controller. And make another group and call it view. So when I make my apps, I make model, view, controller folders like this. And these are virtual folders. These don't really exist, but it helps keep my stuff separate. I'm going to put everything that's got to do with data in the model. I'm going to put the app delegate actually in the controller, and the athlete, see it says view controller, so it's got the word controller in it. I'm going to put that in controller. The view, I'm going to put the storyboard in the view, and I'm going to put images in the view. There's another storyboard, and the info plist, I guess that would be a model because it's data. Although really it's kind of like extra files. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the, I don't know where the heck to put that. I'll just put it in the controller, I guess. So we don't have our data yet, so I think that the next step, it says, is to create a new Swift file. So I'm going to go to File, New File, File, New File, and not any of these. I'm going to pick a Swift file and create it, and I'm going to call this Athlete. Athlete. And that's going to go inside of my model group. Create. Okay, so now I got a new Swift file in here for model for athletes. Let me see what else it wants me to do. All right, so inside of this athlete Swift file, it wants us to make a structure, and we want to call the structure. So I'm going to do struct. I'm going to call it athlete. So there's an athlete struct, and it's got some properties in it, like a variable called name of type string, variable type age, type int, variable called league. You know, eventually you'd make the league enum. I would think that might be a good idea, but for now we'll just make that a string, and a team, and we'll make that a string too. Doesn't really specify. It also wants a computed property called description that uses the 4 properties to return a phrase describing the athlete. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this custom string convertible thing. Custom string. It's a new thing I learned, so it's kind of fun to use. And that actually comes with a little description thingy. And in fact, I'm going to do this a different way. I'm going to extend athlete. And that means that I can keep the things that I need to use for custom string convertible separate from the regular structure. So this means I'm adding extra power to the athlete, adding extra, it's conforming to a new protocol. I'm going to click the fix button. Did you see I did that? I hit the red button, hit fix it, and that inserts this text in for me. And they want it to return a phrase that includes all of the information above. So I'm going to return something right now. And let's first start with their name. Remember, that's the little thing you got to use to insert a property inside of a string. This little dot thing, slash parentheses. And age. So they're that many years old, and they play for the team in the blank league. It's kind of like a Mad Lib. Remember those Mad Libs? Okay, so now anytime we print the athlete, it'll print out this stuff. That's the power of custom string convertible, is it makes it so you can just print the athlete, and instead of printing a bunch of gibberish, it prints this description out. All right, and notice we can put integers in just the same as we can put strings in when we concatenate, I think it's called. I don't know. When we use this slash parentheses, we can throw ints in there, strings in there. You can throw arrays in there, but they look kind of ugly. So, all right, so I think we're at a point now where we get to read some more instructions. Let me see what they want next. Okay, so step 4 wants us to create a new controller. They want us to create a controller for the form view. So if we look at the storyboard again, let's see what we're doing here. They have a controller set for the table view. So if I click here and up here, yep, table view is selected as the class. But this view over here, oh, look at that. It says form view controller. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to search my project, paste it. See, there's nothing like that in the programming. Oh, yeah, this is just the storyboard. But there's no actual form view controller. So we got to make a new view controller here to match that, what they want it to be. So it's got to be spelled exactly the same too. Don't skimp on that. So new file. And now instead of a Swift file, we could start with a blank Swift file, but I'm going to be a little bit lazy because I like being lazy, and I'm going to click Cocoa Touch class. And this has a bunch of pre-filled stuff in it. So I'm going to say it's not going to be called a view controller, it's going to be called the athlete form view controller. And again, I copied that text because that's what they had up there. And it's of type view controller, yeah. Let me just check. Yeah, the subclass is UI view controller. That's in the instructions. And don't select this zip file or nib file they call them. Just leave that blank, Swift. So it used to be that you create a view at the same time you create the code. We don't do that anymore. That's because we've got it created already. Okay, and I want to put it in controller because it's got the word controller in it. Boom. Now we've got a form view here. Now the next thing it says to do is to add a property of type athlete. So variable athlete and of type athlete. And it wants it to be optional. Optional is this question mark, and that means an athlete might exist, an athlete might not exist. You know, when you first start the form view, maybe one is not selected. So we don't know. That means we don't know. If it's not there, then it's going to imply it's going to always be there. Or if you use an exclamation point, it's going to definitely think it's always there, and it's going to crash if it's not there, if that makes any sense. So at this point, athlete can be nil, like there can be nothing in here, and it's kind of cool with that. All right, so they also want us to create a function called update view and call it in viewDidLoad method. So I have to read this a little closer. Do they mean they want us to create an update view method inside of this class? Or do they mean they want us to create an update view method inside of this class? I'm going to assume they mean in this class here, the form, so inside the form. So down below this, I like to leave the override stuff up top, and I'm going to start func, and it's going to be called update. I'm going to say update form view, just so it's a little more specific. And it's not going to take any parameters or return anything for now. I'm just going to print something here just to see if it's, working. And it did say to call this in the view did load, so we're going to call it up here. Oops, oops, oops. Okay. Update form view. There we go. So now when the view loads, it goes down here and updates. Okay, so some pretty groovy stuff now they want you to do. They want you to say, inside of the update form view, they want you to quote unquote unwrap the athlete property. So what they mean by that is, that's a fancy way of saying if let, I'm going to just call it confirmed athlete equals athlete, not the capital one, but the lowercase one. And I might have to do as athlete print confirmed athlete. Let me see if it likes that or not. Sometimes these if statements can get kind of weird. What's it giving me? It says it was defined but never used. Okay, I can do that. Also, we don't need this replace as thing, so I can just do that. And then I'm going to confirm. I'm going to use the confirmed athlete inside of here so it stops yelling at me. Stop yelling at me, Swift. Now let's see if it's cool with that or not. Perhaps not, perhaps so. Yeah, it's cool with that. It's got some other errors that we're going to work on. It's just part of the assignment. And so now that we've confirmed the athlete, it wants us to update the fields with it. That's going to be interesting because currently we don't have any of those fields connected here. So I'm assuming we're going to have to start connecting some of those fields in here. Let me pause and see if the instruction even mentions that. Yeah, they don't even mention how to do that. So let's do that really quick all together. So let's go back to the storyboard over here. Oh, that's app delegate. There's the storyboard right here. Click on the storyboard. And first thing we want to do is double check to make sure that here's our form view. And make sure that the correct thing is selected up here. Form view controller is selected. Yep. Okay, and now I'm going to give myself a little bit of room because it's going to get crazy. And I'm going to click on these double rings, and it opens up two views here. So I'm guessing this top one is going to be a name. So I'm going to drag this in here, and I'm going to call it name text. And it's an outlet, and all that other stuff is good. I can just hit enter. There we go, it connects it. Control drag the next one. I'm going to call this one age text. And next one. Hope your day's going well. League. One more here. What's the last one? Oh, team. Team text. And I'm afraid to say, I think that perhaps we should probably have the save button be an outlet too. Actually, the save button might be an action. So when you click on the save, so I'm going to call this persist, which is, I don't know why, but that's what programmers use instead of save. This is really interesting. These are text fields. I would think that they should be, oh, I see, because you can enter in, the idea is you enter in your favorite athlete in here and hit save. So I suppose the idea is when you click on an athlete, it can open up this again and populate the text field with the text that goes inside of it. So we'll see how it goes in just a second. But now that we've got these declared as outlets, we can update the text here. if we confirm the athlete has all that data in it. So I'm going to close this up so it gets a little bit more space for myself. Reopen this side window here, back in the form view. And these outlets are defined. I'm just going to kind of clean them up just a hair. This can stay a little separate because that's an action. And you can even take your action and put it down here if you want. Up to you. Okay, now that we have those views connected, we can, when they open up the, when they load this view, if there's an athlete, then we can update all the text fields down here. So let's do that really quickly here. It is just, you would do text, or name text, assigned to confirmed athlete dot name. Then you could do team text. You don't have to do them in order technically. Confirmed athlete dot team. League is one of them. League text. Or yeah. League text equals confirmed athlete dot league. And what was the last one, folks? Age. Age text equals confirmed athlete. This one's going to yell at us also. Dot age. What's it telling us? Cannot assign a value of type string to UI text field. I think that there's string value or something like that. Okay. So we're going to put a little dot text after. So you can change a lot of different things about these fields, like the color and everything. So we have to specify that it's the text we're talking about with these fields. I probably should have called this name text field, team text field, league text field, and it's going to yell at us with this one because this is an integer. So you know what, let's just call it a string. Let's do this, and then let's put those little dots. I don't know what you call that. Okay, so now theoretically when they launch the view, and usually I would start testing about now, but the problem is they gave us this error. Let's see where the error is. It's right here. Yeah, let's keep trudging along, but typically you wouldn't start with a bunch of errors. You would test as you go, and then if you get an error, deal with the error when you get the error. But right now, since we're pretty far into the class, I don't want to like comment this out and just try it because I'm afraid that it will not even get to that screen. So anyhow, let's just keep trudging along and hope that we can do this just right. Be very careful about it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is change this persists because we made the save button. So the save button happens and it clicks this persist thing. So when you touch up inside, persist happens, and we want to now save this data. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. You want to check to make sure that there's some data, a string inside of the field before saving it, because you don't want to save nothing or you could have a problem. So the way the book is suggesting is using a guard statement. You could also use if-let statements if you feel more comfortable in those. But let's just do the way the book says. So we're going to add a guard statement in here, which I'm really not that good at, but we'll give it a try. So the condition is for the guard, let name equal, so making a new thing called name, and I'm just checking to see if there's text in the name text field. Or else you could do return, yeah, just return. So basically, it'll exit out if there's no name. But don't forget, we've got a bunch of other things, not just name, there's age, there's league, there's team. So we'll put a comma in here and another one, let age. Now the disadvantage to this, which is, I don't know if we're going to worry about it or not, is what if they leave one field blank? If they leave one field blank, then you probably should warn the user at that point and say, hey, you should fill out all the fields. But in this case, it just kind of it returns out of the function, nothing happens. So not the best code. I would check each of them maybe, and if they weren't filled in, I would just give it a blank field. So I would pass a blank one in there. Okay, so I have to get better at typing and talking. So league text. And the last one is a team. All right, guard let these things happen. And then they're going to give me a little bit of problem here. Expected some stuff here. Oh, because the else is over here, but the else needs to be at the end here. Else return. But we're not using these yet, so the way we do this now is we make a new, or we make athlete. Athlete equal athlete. So now we're going to create a new athlete using all those things. Name, age, league, and team. What's your problem? What's your problem? Think I got it in the wrong spot. Yeah, this whole thing needs to go down here. So this is the else statement, else return. So it's kind of like, if you want to help clarify it, it goes like this kind of. Guard name. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, right. So it's giving us a hard time because age is an int. You know what? Let's just make age a string for now. I mean, we don't have to fight it here. In the real world, you would cast the int. So you would check to see if the int could be a string, if the int could be, or if the string could be an int, and then if the string could be an int, then you would pass it into the text field. So you would. So anyhow, let's not even worry about that for now. What's your problem now? It's still catching up. So, also this is not correct anymore either, because we can just do this now. Confirmed age, because we've changed it to an integer, or to a string. So now it can just be treated like a string. I'm going to hit the build button. Sometimes if it doesn't realize there's a problem, if it thinks there's a problem, you hit the build, it like wakes up and it's like, oh yeah, you got it. So okay, this is now kind of legit. Again, we could have left this age as an integer, and then we could have cast it whenever we needed it as a string. That would be the time to cast it as a string. And in this case, we had it as a string because the person typed it in as a string, and we would need to convert it to an int. It sounds like a lot of work. That's not what they asked us to do in this assignment, so let's not do it. I want to save you guys some time here. All right, step 5. Step 5 is where it gets a little weird. This is where we start to work on the table view controller, and we learn on preparing the Segue or the Segue, preparing the data and the view controllers. So let's take a look at what we got first. So we've got this table view controller, and see it's already got some stuff preparing cells. But now it's saying it wants us to, it wants us to do this. So I'm going to uncomment this down here. Prepare for Segue, and let's see what it wants us to put in here. Usually you'll use this to get ready to make a change. So you're getting ready to move to the next screen, basically. Okay, so what it says to do. Let me get back here. So what it says to do is that you'll need to cast the Segway's destination view controller as an athlete form view controller. So it doesn't tell you how to do that, so let me show you. So I like to use if let because it's safer. You could just use a let statement here, but then you'd have to use an exclamation point, the bang operator as they call it, and it's a little more dangerous. So if it doesn't work, then your app crashes. The if let statement tries it, and if it doesn't work out, then it just skips it. So so I'm going to let this new controller, so if let, just call it controller, I guess. If let controller equal, and what we're looking for is the segues.destination and as, but we want to cast it as question mark. That's the part where it's like optional. As, what the heck do we call it? Athlete form view controller. Open and close curly braces. And this is how you would create a controller. So the controller, now we're making a new controller. And so if we look over here in form view controller, up at the very top, you've got all these outlets and whatnot. And one of the variables is called an athlete right here. So the cool thing about, the reason you do this is because we want to prepare this athlete data before we transition. So right now we can just type controller.athlete equals, let's just make an athlete here just for intents and purposes. So you can make an athlete and call him Dave, call my age 43, I think. I play for the league of Swift, the Swift League, and my team is cracking code. Okay, now, gosh, I hope we can we move? No, it's still going to give us an error or two. Let's see what the errors are, because I'd like to test this out just to see. All right, let's test this. Let's just close this out. We'll close all this stuff out. Oh, it's not going to let me do that because it wants a cell. All right, we'll keep moving forward. But the thing I was going to try to show you is if you launch your storyboard now, we're passing this athlete. We're assigning athlete on the form view before we move to the next controller. Now the trick here is they want you to have a table view, and so we need to know which athlete this one is. Right now we have no idea which one you clicked. So what we need is like, we need to assign that somewhere, right? And that's what this up here is doing. Table view, cell for row at index. So, and the real, the key here is cell for row at index path. So when you select the row, it's going to assign the athlete in our array. It's going to fill in all that stuff for you. So, all right, let's keep moving forward here in the lesson. Actually, I was kind of wrong. This part here is for filling in the fields as it loads the table view. But what we need to know which one was selected. And they actually don't make this very easy in the instructions. They don't tell you about it at all. So, but you want to override the table view thing that is selected, something selected, something, something. So I'm going to just start typing selected, and then, oh, actually, I think if I start with the table view. Table view did select row at index path. This one here, hit enter, fills in all that jazz for you. I think this is the one we want. Let's give it a try. I'm just going to do some print statement here. I want to print index path. And I'm sick of this error. I'm going to comment this garbage out. And let's see if we can build and run this thing just to kind of see what happens. Oh, it should say override. Yep, that's right. It's probably going to crash because now we're not returning any cells. What's the error? Oh, this thing, I'll comment this out too. Build and run. Come on, do this. Yes, I know. That's a really interesting problem. There's no plist, and yet it's right there. Sometimes you got to do this little clean. Where is it? Clean and build. Let's try that first before we start troubleshooting. Clean, product clean, and then build and run. Interesting. There is no such file. So I got to go on the hunt for this info plist. Let me pause it. Well, there it is right there, info plist. It's I found this is the folder with my app, and if I dig in here, it's inside of this controller folder, which is interesting. I didn't think it used to make an actual folder. So what probably happened, it used to be virtual folders that it was making, but now it's making real folders, and it's probably just kind of lost track of where that plist is. Let's go ahead and find it. So let's go into the folder here and select info plist and bring out this little extra window here. Now, here is where the path is. Now let's see. Yeah, it looks to be correct. You know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to recopy this into my project. So it's right here. I'm going to copy it. I want to copy the whole file, paste it on my desktop. I'm going to take it out of here, hit delete, move it to the trash. Now I'm going to find the one that I just put on my desktop, and instead of putting it in model, view, controller, all that stuff, it might have to go outside of all that jazz. Info plist is sometimes special. Apple requires it for everything. Oh, I threw it in the view again. Can I undo that? No. Well, I'm going to delete it then. Delete it, move it to trash again. Notice I'm not deleting this one. And I'm just going to put it up above all this jazz just for fun to make sure it's not in a folder. Now it's visible. Okay, let's see Swift, Xcode, Apple. You guys all happy now? Build succeeded, launching out. Okay, that's what you have to do. You have to leave that info plist outside of the folders, I guess. Good to know. The simulator's loading. Here we go. Launching something. Might crash, who knows? Might not do anything. It's not even doing a thing. That's okay. I would be surprised if it just magically worked, because we haven't been through this whole tutorial yet. So what should happen is it loads the navigation controller, and it might be loading all this stuff, but there's no data in there yet for your stuff. There's no even, wait, is the add button, is that even there? I didn't see it, did you? Oh, there it is, look, there it is. All right, let's hit the add button. There's where it's going to crash. Oh yeah. All right, that's fine. That's fine, keep moving. Keep chugging along. So where did we leave off? We don't know which athlete they're talking about, and that is in this table view controller. See, we forget, we don't know what athlete they're talking about. We've cast the controller as an athlete form view controller. And we had to add in this selected at index. Oh, did we select one? Let's try it again. I want to see if I can select a path. I mean, select a cell. Here we go. Click, click, click. It's not clicking yet. That's all right. Probably because there's no cell there to click. You know what I mean? It's not making the cell. It just looks like there's cells there. All right. So this exercise is a good example of how sometimes it's easier to just start your own project than to jump into someone else's code and try to fix it up. So, but we can't start over. We're already pretty far in, and I've done a little bit of work here. So let's see. Hopefully I'm picking up where we left off. Where we left off, we made a controller, an athlete form view controller. And so with that controller comes everything that, so you can type controller dot whatever's on that page. So here's the form view controller, and at the top we've got these outlets and this object called an athlete. So the idea is you can fill in that data before you get there. So right now we're in the table view, and then when you click the button, all that stuff is preloaded. That's the idea. But we weren't sure which athlete it was going to be. And so the way you figure out which athlete is you want to know what the selected row is in the table view. So the table view is got a bunch of rows. We want to know which one they've selected. And the way you can do that is by figuring out the path, the index path. So So I'm going to make an if let statement, if let index path, because I don't know if one exists, and I want to just be absolutely sure that one exists. And we can pull up something called table view here, which, because we've got a table view in there, it's accessible to us. Table view.index path for selected row. And that's it. Oh, actually, you want .row, because this would give you the index path, but I actually want the index itself. So that'll give us, now it'll give us an actual an integer, which will make it easier because we know we have this thing called athletes. We have an array of athletes, and if we pass the index in, the index should match the athlete that was selected. If all of our code is right, then we're pulling the same data. So we've got the array of athletes, and as we fill in the table, it corresponds with the index. All right, what's your problem here? Oh yeah, we want a question mark over here because that makes it optional. Then we can use the if let. By the way, if you have a bunch of if let statements, if let this, if let that, you can just delete this and put a comma in between them. And then we're going to have one extra curly brace, so I'll delete that too. So now if let the controller be this, and if let the index equal that, then assign the athlete. I'm not trying to make it more confusing, but sometimes you have a bunch of if lets and you might want to put a comma between them instead of multiple if lets. Just a personal flavor. All right, let's clean this up a little bit. I'm not sure which one corresponds to which, so I'm going to select all these and choose in the editor structure re-indent, and now it kind of scoots them around. And you know what bothers me is this. There's this property keys thing that no one ever talks about in this until like the very end, I guess. And that's been bugging me so much that I've went ahead and skipped ahead in a chapter. So that goes at the very top of the athlete's table view controller, and you can paste this little structure in called property keys. And that's just property keys. In this case, they're using this to just be placeholders for text because they don't want to misspell things throughout there. Because if you misspell these cell identifiers, you're in big trouble. The cell identifiers inside of these storyboards, and I'm pretty sure like here's a table view, here's the cell, here's the athlete cell, and yeah, the identifier is down here. So I'm pasting that athlete cell in here. I'm pasting it up here. It wasn't like that before, but I put that in. I don't think it's restoration ID. I think it corresponds to the identifier, but then this is confusing me because this is in the accessibility tab. And you'll see these other identifiers are outside of that. They are pretty obvious identifier right up here. So I don't know if I've got this cell one correct just yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, here's the identifier. Paste it in there. Okay, so I clicked on the cell, and it's right in here. Not this one, not this one. Wrong, wrong. It's up here, slammed in between the image and the selection. So that text corresponds to this text, and if those don't match, then your thing's going to crash. I also made a couple, I don't know if you were here for this, but I defined a couple athletes and appended them to the array just as a test. All right, let's carry on. So after the row here, we also have to, or they want us to define the segue. So we type in segue dot identifier. And we're checking to see if that identifier is equal to, and then we've got our property keys again, property keys dot edit athlete segue. And let's just check in to make sure you clicked the right button there, I believe. To make sure that matches. If that matches, then continue. Now you can assign the athlete. If you want your code to match the book's code a little closer, they actually didn't define this as a row up here. They put the row down here, index.row. It's the same stuff. We're just doing it in a different place. Okay, next we're going to enable the table view controller to receive an athlete object back from the athlete form view controller. I'm just reading this from the book. In the event that a new athlete has been added or an existing athlete has been edited, you will do this with an unwind segue. Add an IB action method that takes a parameter of type UI Storyboard segue. Inside of this body, you'll need to cast the segue's source view controller as athlete form view controller and unwrap its athlete property with a guard statement. Man, they are not being easy on you. Okay, let's get to this here. So, first I want to check to see if it exists already. Do they already have this? Or is this something new that we're making? Looks like it's something new. All right, so they want us to make an IB action. So at IB action. Okay, let's skip ahead here. And go ahead and pause your screen now and type out this here. So instead of me talking through it, let's just type it out. So pause your screen, and this is where we're creating the IB action. And I'm going to talk really briefly about what this is and what it's doing. But go ahead, pause your screen now, type this all out, and catch up with me in a second. Okay, so what this is doing is it's preparing and checking to see if what you clicked was an edited athlete or a new athlete. So that's why it's checking to see if the athlete exists or not. And if it is, then you're creating a new athlete, or if it is, you're loading data from an existing athlete versus creating a new one. Oy. Okay, so finally we need to create the unwind segue in Storyboard. So in Storyboard, drag, let's go back over to the Storyboard. All right, now we're back in Storyboard, and this is your favorite athletes table view, and this is your form view. And if I'm reading this correctly, what it's telling us to do is you control-click from the athlete form view controller and drag it over the exit, and then select Prepare for Unwind with Segue. Click on that, and the Unwind Segue is prepared. Let's see here. And now here it is right here. It looks like we already had one prepared, but it says to give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name, call it the new unwind to table. I'm going to copy that identifier name, and I'm going to throw it in this up here. So I don't know if they knew that it already existed or if we had created a new one, and we might need to assign this new unwind segue to the appropriate code. Let me experiment and check back with you in a moment. Okay, wait. So we're calling this the new unwind to table, and I'm calling it new unwind here. So what this is actually is when you click on the save button, then how does it get back home? So that's inside the form view over here. And here's the save action that we made. We called it persist. And here we're assigning the athlete, but we're not going back to the main screen here. So to do that, you type out perform segue with identifier. I'm hitting the enter key and filling in some stuff. And there's where we want that text that we just made up. So that's inside of our property keys now. And we called it new unwind. And the sender is going to be actually self. Isn't that what we called it? Wake up. I see. I got to put that property key because the property key corresponds to the forms page. So I've got to make a new, you know, this is not the best. I would put all this in one place, but I got to make a new structure just inside the form view controller, property keys, and here's the new unwind to table text. You could just as easily put that text, this red text, you could have easily just put that in right here, but it's a good practice to keep all that stuff in one place. All right, man, I don't know. I think it might actually build and run now. This is going to be crazy. I'm going to try it. I'm going to build and run. We'll see what happens. It's probably going to crash. I would be so surprised if it just worked, but we have to do some debugging. That's fine. That's all part of the game. It's building. It's running, and it's... Oh my gosh, it's filled in some stuff here. Look at that. It's populating the table view. That's a big success. All right. If I click plus, yeah, that's going to crash because I don't think I did that yet. That's fine. Let me build and run it again, and now I'm going to test by clicking the table view. Click on this and see what happens. Crashes too. Okay. All right. So something is amiss in preparing, probably in pushing from the table view to the form view. Let me pause it and troubleshoot this for you guys, save you guys a little bit of time. Actually, I'm going to leave it unpaused for just a moment while we start troubleshooting, because troubleshooting is a huge part of programming. And so what we want to do now is we want to see at what point in time is that crashing, right? So we know view to load happens. It loads in my name and Kelly's name, and it puts all that stuff in. And the table view stuff, this all works because it loads all those cells in. What happens is, first of all, it crashes when we selected the row and it printed some stuff. See, I clicked on select row and it printed stuff. Then it's probably crashing somewhere down here. Now, with a hard crash like that, you might want to first look for anything with an exclamation point in it. Nothing exists like that here. So what we want to do now is we want to check to see, I'm going to see if it gets to this point, print, I'm here above the athletes. And then I'm going to print again below it. I'm here below the athletes. I'm going to take that print statement and I'm going to put it in here. I'm here above index path. And then let's put another one down below it. I'm here below. And let's just kind of see when we crash it, where does it get to? It could be that our guard statement isn't guarding enough. Let's just check it out. I'm not even going to try the plus sign because I don't think we've done anything with that yet. But I'm going to click up here. And now, as expected, it crashed. Let's expand this window a little and check out some of our print statements. Here above the athletes, here below the athletes, and then it gives us these numbers. So certainly, let's go back and look at our code. Let me stop and then go over here. I'm here above the athletes. This is all chill. This is cool, no problems. This is fine here. So this preparation is good. It never quite gets here. I wonder if we didn't prepare for Unwind inside of... I'm going to do one more test here. I want to see if it gets to this point. I'm here. Now we're in the form. And this is view did load, so this should happen right when the form happens. I don't think it's getting here, but if it is and there's some data that's missing, that could be a problem. So there's the crash, and we just got the numbers, so it's not in the form yet. I wonder if we were supposed to do, remember we went back into this storyboard thing and we dragged this to make it unwind? I wonder if we're supposed to do that here as well. Let me look through the instructions and see what I can find. All right, well, here's something kind of interesting. There's actually two prepare for unwinds here. That's probably not right. It's probably not what's crashing it, but that's not a good thing. So I'm going to delete one of them. And let's just build and run and see if that's a problem. Wait a second. These ones, see, they're not dots next to them. There's kind of like exclamation points and whatnot, or some kind of symbol. I'm going to delete those as well. Any of the ones that have like a funny symbol there, like this one here. I think I didn't have to do that stuff, and I did it. Ooh, did you see that? Ooh, look at that. Bam! Sweet. Wow. Huh. Okay. Look at that stuff. Davy Boy, we'll call it. Dave's Boy, sure. Go back. It's not saving yet, but I can click in there and type in there. Oh, I didn't hit the save button. Ooh, the save button crashes. All right. That's all good. That's all good. We're much closer now. We're closer. So let me do a little more work here, guys and gals. But so you want to definitely click up here and check to make sure there's no like weird symbols, and they should all be connected. The symbols you're looking for that were weird were kind of looked like a little bit of a gray exclamation point next instead of the dot there. So all right, let me see what's going on with that save button. Oh, actually, let's check the plus button too. I don't know if that one works yet. I could use one more success here. One more. Click the plus. Oh, yeah, it opens up an empty one. Who's your favorite one? Dave. 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 I've typed that word enough times, Dave. Save crash. Let's see if there's any print statements here. I'm here in the form, it says. But that happens probably really early on. All right, let me check it out. And persist. I'm going to do some print statements in here. Print up in the save. And there's a guard. And then I'm going to put one here. Oh, I bet it's down here. Down in the save. And then this one here, post segue. Post segue. I bet you anything it's this thing. But let's just test. Yeah, with those hard crashes, those big crashes, usually like things aren't connected properly, or there's something that's not named right, or things like that. Click it there, make a change, click on the save. Now let's see where it crashed. I'm here in the form, confirmed, da-da-da. Oh man, confirmed Dave is 43 years old and they play for the Kraken code in the Swift. Interesting. Where's it printing that? I'm going to search for all my print statements. Did select row. So when I selected the row, it got to the select row. It didn't really prepare here yet. All right, let me do some more research, gentlemen and ladies. I'm still a little suspicious of this whole business here. Because there was two of them, maybe I deleted the wrong one. So I'm gonna delete those both. Let's see, how do we do this again? So you control drag like that. Prepare for unwind with Segue. Unless you're supposed to prepare from this one to that one. And I don't think that's what the instructions said. Bibbidi boppity boo. Save, crash. Let's do an experiment, shall we? Let's see if we get a little further if we just delete that. Delete this unwind here. Let's see if maybe, things don't work exactly right, but maybe we get a print statement or two down here. Maybe we get a little closer to our final application. Gosh, this is like an hour-long tutorial. Booby-doo. Save. Crashed. And I didn't get a print statement. What's interesting to me is that, check this out. I've confirmed this save button it looks to be very correct, and I've reconnected it to the form view controller here. So when you click on that, see it's connected, it should print up in the save here. If I like copy and try to find that in here, oh, it is there. Interesting. Up in the save, down in the save. Okay, okay. And then maybe it's this piece that's crashing. So let's not prepare the segue here, because you see it didn't say post segue down there. So that's a hint that this is our problem. Boop. Dibby-dibop. Save. Okay. Nothing happened, but it didn't crash. See? Now we're saving it and printing and saving, printing. So this is the deal here. This is what we got to work on. Let me pause and figure it out. Actually, I want to talk through this problem with y'all. So let's do this. Let's just get rid of this structure. Let's keep things simple. We're going to delete this structure when it's simplified. Sometimes when you get troubleshooting things, you might want to just simplify. And I'm going to call this, instead of new unwind to table, just unwind form. Okay, unwind form. Now I've got this new thing. We're trying to perform a segue called unwind form. And let's make this happen. Go back into the storyboard. And first of all, we want to get rid of that old, we already deleted that old unwind. It was up here before. And now we got to create a new segue. Doing this again. Prepare for unwind. Now it made an unwind segue here. I click on it, and then I'm going to click on this thing here. Aha! This, I think, is where the identifier goes for that segue. So let me double check that they match. It might not be the right text, actually. What's the text we settled on here? We're going to call it unwind form. We're keeping it simple. Unwind form. Boom. And then here's the unwind segue. And we're pasting this in. And now let's see what the heck happens when we click on it. Should be interesting. Might work, might crash, might do nothing. Bam, 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 bam. Changing some text. Hitting the save button. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh, and it's even saving data. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending a million hours working on this. Welcome to coding. I hope you still have some hair and you haven't pulled out all of your hair, but we now have an actual working thingamajigger, thingamabobber, thingamahoosit. Okay, I'm a little bit code crazy now. Now's where you want to save your work. And